This is the Rippton CatchX Mini GPS bait boat, and in this video I'm going to tell you 5 key things you need to know about it. Well, let's start with some of the basics. The size of this bait boat is as follows. It's 48.2 centimeters long, 31.4 centimeters wide, and it's 21.3 centimeters tall. So all in all, it's not a very big bait boat, and that in turn means it's not very heavy. As you can probably tell from how I'm lifting this up with one hand and maneuvering it like so, because this comes in at just 2.8 kilos. So it is a relatively small bait boat. If you wanted something slightly bigger than this, but you like what you see today, the Rippton do have the CatchX Pro, so obviously it's going to be slightly bigger than this one. But for most UK anglers and most UK waters, I'd say this is about the right sort of size for what you need. It still holds a good amount of bait. You can actually have 1.5 kilos of bait in its singular hopper, but it's not too big and it does everything you need it to that a bigger one would do, just without the size and cumbersomeness of a bigger bait boat. And as I just mentioned, the payload of this is 1.5 kilos of bait. And if you think about how a bait boat actually works, and how this one in particular, that door is probably 3-4 inches wide by about 6-7 inches long, so it's not the biggest of doors. So once that opens up, that bait's falling pretty much directly down. Of course, it's going to flutter down depending on what bait you're using, crumb, boilie flake, or just whole boilies. That's going to fall down slightly differently. And also if you're fishing in deeper water, that's going to flutter out more and more. But 1.5 kilos, if you think about how much that is, dropping from one point, that's going to be quite a lot of bait in quite a concentrated area. So I really do think that's perfect amount for bait over one rod. But of course you can take this bait boat out as many times as you want and keep topping up a spot if you want to be really accurate and just drop several amounts or several kilos in a very short space of time really. And on the subject of using this back and forth to and from a spot, you can actually have a runtime of up to 2 hours with this battery. Now that test is done on calm water, so of course the worse the weather gets, the more choppy the water, the more the bait boat's having to work to get itself through the water. So of course that time is going to drop. And if you've got perfect flat calm conditions, you can expect about 2 hours of running time from a singular battery. And the battery isn't huge. I remember bait boats of years gone by having huge batteries, really heavy things. That's not that big, to be honest. So it's quite a small, compact little unit, and I think 2 hours is nothing to be sniffed at, to be honest. And the last part of this boat's name is GPS. Pretty self-explanatory, it has GPS within it. Now this has a couple of benefits. You can set a home point, so it knows exactly where you're setting off from, so it's a bit of a fail-safe setting on there. If you have any issues, the boat will manage to return to home by itself. But also it means you can set waypoints, which we'll get onto in a bit more detail in a second. So it knows where it is in the world, knows where it is on your lake, and you can let it do some autopilot-y things, which is pretty cool as well. It's accurate to within 1.5 meter radius. And lastly, when talking about the fundamentals and the basics of this bait boat, is the actual looks. Of course, function needs to be the priority when using anything fishing related, but let's be honest, we all look at things and think if it looks nice, you're probably going to enjoy using it a bit more. And this looks pretty cool as well. It's finished in a carbon fibre type effect all over. It's got 2 rear red lights, 1 white front light, fairly understated graphics. You've got the Rippton logo on the very top of the battery cap, and you've got the CatchX Mini GPS on either side. Other than that, it's pretty understated and simplistic. Now I absolutely love it when I get sent a more techie item to review and it just works and it's nice and simple. And it is exactly that. Press and hold the on button on the remote, gives you a little vibrate. That tells me that the remote is now on. And then press the on off button on the middle of the bait boat, beeps, and then do a longer beep. There we go, and it's now synced. I can actually use this boat straight away like that. So if you want to just get it going, use it, you're not fussed about doing any kind of GPS work, you just want to get rigs out nice and quickly and do it all manually through the remote, then that's good to go. That's all you need to do. But it does help to do a bit of calibrating first, which again only takes a couple of seconds. So put this bait boat into the water, you press and hold A and B, and they'll automatically calibrate for you. Just do a little loop by itself, and that's it. That makes the GPS way more accurate because the bait boat's figuring out where it is. Once it's done that, it's happy, and you can set the home point and waypoints much easier with a lot more accuracy. Now setting the home point again is super easy. You just press the joystick down and it pops up saying press enter to set home. So I press enter, set successfully. So it's now saved the home point actually right here. So if I use this later on and use the auto function, it'll probably drive straight into the bank trying to get to here. So I'll have to remember to change that. But once that's set, that's the fail-safe setup, because if there's any kind of issues when using this later on and the remote for whatever reason disconnected and this needs to get back, it will figure that out and drive itself back for me to the home point. It's also used when doing the automatic waypoint, so taking your rigs out, dropping it and bringing it back. To set your waypoint is just as simple as it was to set the home point. I'll use the manual functions to drive this bait boat out to where I like the look of, and once I've got to that point, press the joystick down once again, but then select A. So notice to press enter to set A, and there we are, set successfully. So I've actually just saved a waypoint here again, so the home point and a waypoint has been set to here. So it may have a bit of a funny 5 minutes if I try to do it from here, or it just realised that it's already at the waypoint. Anyway, once the home point's set and your waypoint's set, you can bring the boat back, load it up with your bait, and put your rigs in. Now that's exactly what I did with my left-hand rod, which we'll get onto actually using this in a second, because all 3 of these rods are out from using the bait boat. But as I mentioned, if you didn't want to use this with the automatic functions, you want to be a bit more manual with it using the joystick, that couldn't be simpler either, because it's one-handed. As you can see, it fits in the hand nice and easy, super lightweight, and that joystick does everything you need it to, from front, back, right, left. You've got the hopper drop, which is the bottom left. You've got a cruise control function, so you can set it up in a straight line, it just goes for you, and then that leaves you with a hand free to take care of your rod. Don't make that weird. It just means you can get a perfect line lay, tease the line out as it's going out, so you make sure you're not getting stupid bows in the line, and just before you drop it, if you want, you can pull the line nice and tight, ready for the drop, so your line falls down absolutely perfectly every time. So what's this bait bow like actually using it in a fishing situation? Well, this is the first time out with it, and all 3 of those rods were dropped using it. And that's saying something, because bait boats aren't something I use in my everyday fishing. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've actually used a bait boat in a fishing situation. So the fact that I was able to drop all 3 rods with no issues shows just how easy this is to use. The left-hand one, I actually used the automatic setup, so I set the home point and then drove over to the pads where I like the look of, set the waypoint, brought it back, loaded up the rig, and then let the bait boat do it automatically for me. Dropped the rig, and we were fishing on that one. The other 2 I decided to do manually, just so I could show that I've done both aspects of them. So those ones I used one hand on the remote and one hand on the rod. Now actually loading a rig into this is super easy as well, whereas a lot of bait boats you've got to sort of reach under and try to thread your rig through, which yes, that's fine, you can get it done, but it can be a bit cumbersome and awkward. This is really easy because it's got an easy access open rear. Again, just don't make that weird. So you can just slip your rods into there, or slip your rigs in there, shall I say, really easy. You just lift this little hatch, your line goes through the back there, close that down, which keeps it protected, load your bait in before or after, or a mix of both is what I've done, so that when it drops, your line just simply goes out through the back of the bait boat because there's nothing in the way of it there. So driving it out with one hand on the reel, like I said, keeping the line nice and straight. Once I got to the spot, quick press of the hopper button, I could feel the lead go down, nice and easily dropped, and then I was able to bring the boat back, either setting it to come back by itself by hitting the home point, or just doing it manually with one hand. It really is as simple as that. Now, as you probably noticed, this remote control comes with a smartphone holder at the very top, and that's for good reason, because there's a Rippton app dedicated to be used with this whole setup. It's a much more visual way of using the bait, but you can control a lot of it through the app as well, and there's a few extra features on here which make it a bit more interesting than just using it with the remote. As you can see, my home point is logged on there, point A with one of my spots, and point B is logged on there. I can log as many waypoints as I like, and of course I can use this automatic, so if I press on point B, come up start, hit start, so as long as I've got my rig and bait in there and everything, I don't even have to hold the remote anymore. If I wanted, I can put that down. Thank you, sir. I can just control the line, make sure my line lays really nice. The boat will do this for me. It's telling me how far away from the spot it is as well, so I know in real time that's a really big distance away and I can't quite see from the naked eye how close I am to the spot. That will tell me exactly how close I am to my spot. Another cool little feature you'll see in a second, once it gets to the location and it's completed its task, something that holds the boat in its position. So 3, 2, 1, mission is about to be complete. Thank you, sir. And as you'll see, a little icon of an anchor has just popped up. Now this is a really cool little feature that means that that boat will now stay exactly where it is whilst do as much as I need to, setting the bobbins, sinking the lines, and everything sorted before I bring the boat back. Of course, I can have it to come back to home automatically, but if I want to get line out the way and everything sorted first, and don't want to worry about that boat drifting off and clearing off down the lake by itself, it won't. It knows where it is GPS-wise, and it will hold itself in that position, so it doesn't matter how blowy it gets. It's getting quite blowy today. It will hold that position, which is really handy. I can exit that mode by press and hold auto, and I've now got full control of the boat. I could hit the home button now, and it would return for me. But I'm just going to go into the settings at the top right. You'll see on this menu, There's also voice pack. Now this is just for customization. At the moment I've just got on the default voice you would have just heard. I can change that to red alert.
Voice switched successfully.
Or you can change that to 𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗵. A bit more robotic. And lastly you've got cartoon.
Voice switched successfully.
So it's completely up to you which one you want to switch it to. It's got several other different settings on there, a bit more fine-tuning of how you're using the boat, but I just quite like the fact that this is much more visual. Now another really cool thing about this is that if you're using this in conjunction with a fish finder, whether that's the 𝗲𝗷𝗥𝗣𝗏 from Rippton or a deeper, this boat comes with a mounting arm to fix that to either the front of the boat or on the rear, completely up to you. And once that's on there, of course, you can use the bait boat manually, like I am at the moment, or you can set up different waypoints. So this is really, really cool feature. If you got to your swim and you want to find out as much about the swim as possible, you don't want to be casting out or moving the boat loads manually, you can press that top left button and you go fixed point scan or zone scan. If I go to zone scan and just zoom in a bit more, I can start there, so it's just to the right of the boat. I go another one there, so it's point B, or it's 2, sorry, 3, and point 4. Of course, you can make this as big as you like, and as many points as you like. That's now set up a route for itself. I hit start, mission is preparing, it's going to give me an estimated time, should be less than 1 minute, and that's it. That boat will now go by itself, and if I had a deeper on there or a 𝗲𝗷𝗥𝗣𝗏, that would be scanning that zone for me and giving me a live map, and will save the map of the topography underneath, let me know the depths, the sort of what the lake bed's made up of. And it's doing that all for me whilst I could be making a brew, setting my bivvy up, getting my rod sorted and whatnot. It's doing that all completely for me because it's really accurate with the GPS. As you can see, if I zoom in a bit, you can see how far into the task it's going. It's going to point 2 at the moment, and that will be it. So you can set as many points as you want. So you can be really thorough, get this to sweep up and down in your swim, scanning as much as you like, and at the end it will return to home for me as well. So I don't even have to worry about it drifting off after it's finished. It will finish this task, come back to me, and we're good to start fishing. Simple as that. So really handy. You can use the app alongside the remote as well. Now at the point of filming, a quick Google has revealed to me that this whole setup that I've shown you today comes in at $749. So for more information or to pick one of these up for yourself, then do give it a quick Google, have a look on the Rippton website, have a look at this bait boat and other ones they've got. If you like the look of this one, as I said, there's a bigger version available as well, and also sonars, different kits. So do have a little look around for yourself, find something that caters to your needs. But that's pretty much the main points you needed to know about the Rippton CatchX Mini GPS. That's everything from me for now. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you again soon.